So my 8-year-old boy loves to fish. He has for a long time, ever since he was little, from early on back with the cheap little plastic things and then moving on to real hooks and worms and catching bluegills and sunfish. He loves to fish and he always has. I've talked to a friend of mine here at church and we were talking about that one time, and he asked if we'd ever been out on the big boat or the biggest fish he had ever caught. And we ended up in the moment coming up with this scheme in which he and his son and me and my son would go out together with the explicit goal of getting my 8-year-old to try to catch a big fish, right? That was the thing. And we actually, after some details and planning and looking at weather and how this is all gonna work, we finally did it. And it was amazing. And it was amazing in part because it's fun to go, I've never done that before. That was a lot of fun, but it was fun to watch people care and invest in my kid. And it was fun to watch his eyes light up as the fish took off and the reel goes and spins out, and then we reeled him back and he hauled in this fish that was half of his body. But it was just as much fun to watch my friend and his grown adult son, who were just as excited as my little 8-year-old, to watch him discover with joy and delight catching his first big fish. It just made me think about how we function as a church, right? I think we know that we care for one another often, and we do that well, and we know how to do it in moments of hardship and pain, right? We know what to do to sit along someone who is grieving and mourning. We know those kinds of pains and struggles. But what I experienced was someone who cared for me and my son through moments of joy and delight, right? Who did it with excitement and vigor over fellowship and fun and interaction, with lots of laughing and clapping and cheering and honking a boat horn because we caught a fish, and that was the point. And it made me think about where we are as a church, because we often know how to care with one another in our moments of mourning, but I also want to encourage us to care for one another with moments of joy, right? It makes me think of the scripture that comes from Romans chapter 12, where it says in verse 10, be devoted to one another in love, honor one another above yourselves, right? And I think we get that in the sad moments, but I think we also need to get that in the happy, excited moments, because it was more fun to watch my kid catch a fish than for me to catch a fish, and I could watch that with other people too. And so in this day, in this season, with wherever you find yourself, I want to encourage you and us as a body to care for one another in the moments of sadness, absolutely, but also in those moments of joy and celebration and cheering on and finding joy and delight in who God made you to be and the world God put us in. Grace and peace, friends. Have a good week.